So can you identify your love style? Man, is this an important question, right?
Huge.
Because this is what you ask anybody in this room. Why'd you get married, or why are you getting married? Because we love each other. But do you know that you give and receive love in different ways? And understanding that can be super valuable.
Yeah, and love is complicated. There's so many facets to love.
For sure. In fact, for the longest time, we've left explanations of love to poets, lyricists, musicians. You know, social scientists didn't have much to say about romantic love. And that all changed a few years back at Yale University, really for the first time when this researcher, Robert Sternberg, came along, did this massive study, a big longitudinal study on romantic love. He came up with something that we now call, are you ready for this? He calls it the triangular theory of love. Doesn't that bless you? The triangular theory of love. I know that sounds like a major sleeper, but it's really one of the most practical ways of understanding romantic love. He said that after doing all this research, that you can basically boil romantic love down to 3 essential ingredients. And you can write them on each side of this triangle. The first is passion. Passion. Passion, he says, is basically the biological side of love. That's the thing that just kind of flows with the hormones. There's nothing particularly noble about passion because it just happens. So passion, let me ask you a question about passion. How many of you have passion, once you get married, at least the expectation that you'll have passion at a 10 out of 10, every day of the week, every week out of the year, all your married life long, right? I got news for you, it doesn't work that way. Sometimes your passion, you're gonna wonder where it is. This couple over here that's already married, you understand, right? You've been married a few years with a baby on the way, right? Passion is always at a 10 out of 10. Ralph Waldo Emerson said that passion is the mob of the man that creates a riot on his reason, because there's no reasoning involved in passion. It's just biological by nature. Somebody else said that passion, though a bad regulator, is a good spring. In other words, passion is really good at getting love going, not so good at keeping love going. And that's why I say it's what got the two of you together in the first place. That's passion.
The first time we met, it was at a pool hall.
At church.
At a birthday party.
Our first day of work.
It was the end of the New Year's party.
And I looked across the room and I thought he was the cutest Asian boy that I've ever seen in my life.
The first time I saw her, I checked her out.
She thought I was hot.
I noticed him at a distance vacuuming the floor. It was then that I was attracted to him, and I thought this could be someone that I could see myself marrying.
And she was talking, and I just really didn't hear what she was saying. I just thought, she's so cute.
He missed out because I was saying some pretty smart stuff.
Yeah, and so if passion is the biological side of love, on another side of that triangle, you can write the word intimacy. And intimacy is more that emotional component of love. You know, it's that part that makes you feel known and safe in someone's presence, and like you're just with someone who gets you.
Yeah, that you get me and I get you like nobody else on the planet. That's intimacy.
You know, and there are those moments that reveal that. It's like it opens a window to that and you go, oh, I'm so glad I have you. Like I know for us, one of the powerful moments for me is humor, because we'll be in some social setting at a party or something, and I don't know, something happens and Les and I die laughing, and then you kind of look around and nobody else in the whole room found it funny. And I'm like, I am so glad I have you, because what would life be like if I didn't share this quirky sense of humor with someone? I mean, we get it. We're the only ones. And it's so bonding. And it's based on that kind of thing. It's based on that feeling that you're totally safe, that you don't have to edit your thoughts, you know, that you don't have to say it the right way. They still don't misunderstand you.
And there's shared history that comes into it that makes us
our
understand,
story,
right?
that's so bonding. Like for us, one of the most dramatic moments in our marriage, after 14 years, we discovered we were expecting our first child, which was such a great thing. And then he was born super early, a 1-pound micro preemie, and it was just a really intense passage of time for us. And so we finally got...
Some of you guys, I just have to interrupt you for a second, because when I tell my college students that we had a baby that weighed 1 pound, the guys look at each other and go, is that good? I don't know, you know? 1 pound, way to go, you know? If you don't know that small, in fact, my wedding ring slipped over his entire hand when he was first born, clear up to his shoulder, even at 3 weeks of age. Yeah. So give you some perspective on his age.
Yeah, and, so, you know, months in the NICU, multiple surgeries, you know, came home at 3 pounds, tethered to an oxygen tank. I mean, the whole thing was so intense. Our hearts on our sleeve. So I can so well remember, I just have this moment in my mind when he kind of, was able to be home and he started gaining a little bit and thriving, and we were hopeful for him. And so I can remember being in our family room, and we just kind of put him in the middle of our family room. It was like a Friday night. We had nothing, and we were so glad just to be home. And the two of us were just watching him for hours. He wiggled and made a sound, and that was just enthralling to us. And we discovered a couple hours in, our friends didn't find it quite as interesting as we did. We could have cared less, because for us, all that we'd been through together, we were so bonded. I've never felt more emotionally connected. And that's what it's like. Nobody else gets the inside of your story like the two of you. And that's the intimacy that only you can share. It's your emotional connection. And that's one facet of love that's so powerful.
Some of the weirdest things that we enjoy together.
We make weird faces to each other at random times.
All the time. A lot of times we'll be in the car or actually walking through a mall, and I'll start beating with my foot.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
then he gets a little beatbox going. Ay, ay, yeah. Honestly, if you can't have fun with the person you're marrying at the end of the day, that for me was absolutely very, very, very vital.
So same thing on intimacy. Do you have intimacy at a 10 out of 10 every day out of the year? No, you don't. There's sometimes that you feel close and sometimes that you feel distant. I mean, we have a lot in common. Similar heritage and values and dreams. I mean, we got same name. We got a lot in common, right?
A little too much in common, apparently.
But there's sometimes I wonder, does she know me? How could she have thought that? How could she have said this, right? On the base of this triangle, you write another word, and that word is commitment.
Right.
Now, if passion is kind of the biological ingredient, intimacy is the emotional ingredient, commitment is the willful ingredient of love. Commitment is that part of love that says, in spite of all the unpredictability in my life, and in spite of all these things I can't quite pin down that swirl about me, in spite of all that, I'm gonna make one thing rock solid in my life, and that's this relationship. That's you and me. That's commitment, right? Where does that come from? Your hormones? Your emotions? No, it comes from your will. It's the willful part of love. This is truly the part of love that is a decision. This is the I do part of love. We're gonna make this a covenant. Not just a commitment, but a covenant with each other. This is a powerful component of love, and it can't survive without it. Now, let me ask you the same question I ask on the other two. Do you have commitment at a 10 out of 10 every day of the week, every week out of the year, all your married life long? And most of you go, well, yeah, that's why we're signing up for this whole thing, right? Marriage. Well, yeah, that's true. We will have commitment at a 10 out of 10 on that level, but there's also an energy level that it gets infused with, right? That kind of lives out.
Yeah, that's right, because it is a decision and it is an act of the will, but then there's this other part where you have to lean into that, right? And life is full and we get distracted and we don't always have lots of energy to invest in our commitment to really lean into it on a daily basis. And so there is an ebb and flow to that.
Commitment means
Being in 100% and not letting backing out be an option.
For us, no matter what we've gone through, it's never been a question whether we're going to come out of it together or not.
We are going to go through every adventure, ups and downs, and do it together and face things as they come and work through things together, never alone.
So I grew up in a home where my mom and dad didn't make it, and I'm determined that John and I are going to.
For both of us, this is a commitment. It's more than that. It's a covenant that we're making for a lifetime, not just to each other, but also to God.
Yeah, in fact, the bottom line of all this research that was done at Yale was not just to identify these three ingredients, but was to discover that love, romantic love, is very, very fluid. Yeah. It's not a static thing that you fall into and you fall out of. Love changes. There's an ebb and flow to it. There's seasons to love. Right. And the kind of love that you have today isn't the kind of love you have 10 years from now, or 10 months from now, or 10 days from now. Love is very, very fluid. In fact, if you were to look at love over the lifespan and begin to chart how it looks, And you ask a couple, hey, how's your love life on a scale of 1 to 10? And they've just gotten married. They're going to tell you it's a 10. Incredible. So grateful I have this person in my life. You come back to that couple a few months later, still 10 out of 10? Let's say you come back 3 years later, still 10 out of 10? No, it goes down a little bit, right? Come back 7. Oh, maybe it's gone down a little bit more. 15 years, maybe even more, right? Love is very, very fluid. That doesn't mean you have to go down like that, particularly if you know how to cultivate 3 ingredients. Guess what they are? Number 1 is, number 2 is, and number 3 is? Right, if you know how to cultivate these 3 ingredients, well, you can go a long way in keeping that love life alive and thriving. It doesn't have to be something that just fades to the back.
Exactly. If you don't have an understanding that love is fluid, then you feel anxious or guilty if you're missing one of those ingredients on a certain day or a certain month or a certain season of married life. But when you know love is fluid, then what you do is arm yourself to cultivate what's missing. And it takes the anxiety out of that, and it gives you the power to recreate that connection.
You can think of these as the hot, warm, and cold ingredients of love: passion, intimacy, and commitment.
Just like a lot of couples that we see, the first years of marriage, like they're really all together, and then they kind of just, it fades after a while, and we just don't want that to happen.
We were out to dinner maybe just like a week ago or something, and I just remember sitting there, we're having a great time, and we look over and see this couple just kind of sitting there, eating their meal, but not really engaging each other in conversation.
I have a lot of friends that basically, like sex isn't even a thing anymore for them, and we're like, oh, heck no.
We knew that's not where we want to be, later in life.
That's definitely
Nope.
That's a priority.
Yep.
That has to be a part of this marriage.
And we're always holding hands, we're always snuggling on the couch,
Yeah.
so we're gonna make sure that
A lot of PDA.
that stays.
A lot of PDA.
Not a lot.
If you're using the workbooks, you'll discover some fantastic exercises to make this personal and really carve those grooves into your relationship.